now, right 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 now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the Vietnam War. The government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekdaily morning show where we bring you the latest everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, I am so excited. I'm so very excited. I'm so happy about what is happening on the Bitcoin chart right now. And I don't want to rub it in. I don't want to gloat because I know a lot of people are in a very difficult position right now. But I want to tell you the reason that I'm happy about the correction that's taking place on Bitcoin, because we've been prepared for it. If you've been watching this channel, you have been prepared for this drop because we told you up here at 116 that we were going to likely drop down to 94 to 100. After we fell through 94, the same day that we did the overside underside test, we said, nope, we're going lower. And a couple of days after that, we dropped back down to 94. We then said that Bitcoin would rally up to 100. We stopped out at 98. And then we said that Bitcoin, if it was not able to get above 100, was likely going to revisit these bottoms at around 80,000 and then possibly drop down towards 60 to 70,000. We've been saying for a long time that the exchanges are looking at acquiring Bitcoin between $60,000 and $70,000. And wouldn't you know it, this morning, Binance announces that it will convert its Seifu fund, $1 billion worth of stablecoin reserves, into Bitcoin over the next 30 days, with plans to replenish it to $1 billion if Bitcoin drops below 80,000. Why would they be replenishing that? Because they want to buy more. As you know, we have sponsorships. You know the people that we have sponsorships with. NordVPN, Crypto.com, Femex, 2Bit, iTrust Capital, a lot more. Everybody. It's not just every single person behind the scenes. I understand you might not be in the industry. I'm in the industry. Every single person behind the scenes is looking at acquiring Bitcoin between 55 or 60,000 and about 70 to 75,000. That is where a huge tranche of the buy orders are. And that's why you've seen Bitcoin just falling like a rock and why it's so difficult for Bitcoin to get off the launch pad lately, because the vast majority of the buy orders, as we've been saying all year, they're not necessarily right here, although there are quite a few right here. But notice how quickly we dropped from 90,000 down to 82,000. It happened in a day. Why did that happen? Because that's not where the buy orders are. It happened because the buy orders are down here. If you were to look at the overall order book, which you can't do this obviously because it's on 1,000 different exchanges, but if you were to look at the overall order book on Bitcoin, what you would find is that the vast majority of major players are buying in roughly, I'm going to say roughly, from what we're hearing, roughly like this zone. This is where a lot of the buy pressure is. And wouldn't you know it, it's also a very important level for another reason. And that is that it is the zone between this all-time high and this low. You see that? The connection there. This first all-time high and the second all-time high, and then also the higher range of 75,000. I would not be surprised at all if in the next bear market, we see the exact same thing happen, where we see the bottom of the next bear market, not our current one, but the one in 4 years from now. I would not be surprised at all if the bottom of the next bear market is sitting up just a little above 100,000. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Would be completely unsurprised if that took place. If the bottom of the next bear market took place around and slightly below prior all-time highs. By the way, this is the exact same thing that happened on the last bear market. If you look at the bear market prior, guess where Bitcoin topped out at? Bottomed out. It bottomed out having retraced back down just below the previous all-time high. And now we're doing the exact same thing. This is what we've been saying for a long time, and it's coming to pass right now. And for those of you that watch our channel and actually listen, you'll understand that this is why we've had some cash, because we don't necessarily believe that the bottom's over. There's a lot of different patterns that you can look at here that say, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's going down to 40,000. I don't think that's true, right? Last cycle, you could have drawn a uptrending level of support off of these levels, just like this, and it didn't get hit. See, right here, if we just, it'd be kind of hard to draw, but it never got hit. We never went back down to it. See that line? So for everybody who's saying that Bitcoin's just going to drop down to this line, I think you're wrong. I don't think we hit that line the same way that we didn't hit that line in the last bear market. But what I do think is going to happen is that you're going to sweep the previous all-time highs, which is what happened in the last bear market. But in this bull market, because the bull market was a little bit smaller, means the bear market is going to be a little bit smaller. Maybe you're looking at a 48 to 50% drop down towards about $60,000. And again, Binance right now is saying the quiet part out loud. They're planning to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's not their clients. That's their money in their reserves. Notice, this is their reserves. They are converting stablecoin reserves into Bitcoin. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because Bitcoin is closer to the bottom of this bear market than to the start, but we're not necessarily done yet. This has been the exact same narrative that we've been telling you all year, that after we saw the 1010 crash, there was a very real possibility of a super cycle before the 1010 crash. But the 1010 crash, it did happen. And as soon as that happened, our tune changed from we're going into a super cycle to no, we're probably going into a bear market. We said if Bitcoin does not manage to hold 94 to 100,000, then that will be our confirmation of a bear market. We did not. The very day that we dropped below 94, we called a bear market. We've been in a bear market ever since. That's been our tune. And we've said since that first day, when we dropped below 94,000, that the exchanges and the big money players, the whales, the reason that you've seen them selling over the last 3 months below 126 and all the way down to even now is because they're planning on rebuying around 60 to 70,000. We have told you that every single day almost here on the Coffee and Crypto live stream. And for those of you who have followed us, I hope that you're in the position that I'm in with cash to buy the dip. I'm planning on doing the exact same thing that Binance is doing right now, which is acquiring Bitcoin at these $80,000 levels. If we drop down towards $75,000, I'm acquiring Bitcoin. If we drop down towards $70,000, I'm acquiring Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin going to $30,000? No. I cannot say that for certain. Obviously, we don't have the ability to see the future perfectly, but I don't think that's going to happen. And the reason, even before I finish saying the intro, I go over all of this is because if you take one thing from this stream, I want you to take that. And that is that this bear market is getting close to its end, but it's not here yet. And so you need to be ready for more drops. But just because we drop down to 60, 65, or 70 does not mean that Bitcoin is dead. It means that Bitcoin is following the exact same cycle that it always has. If you're new here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I've been working in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets for almost 9 years now. I have been here since not since the inception, but let me just here's the total history of Bitcoin. I got in right there. That's where I got into Bitcoin, right there. I've been in Bitcoin for a very long time. I have done daily technical analysis on all of this. I am a world-leading expert on the Bitcoin chart. I think it's fair and humble to say that at this point because it's genuinely true. I know what I'm talking about on the Bitcoin chart. I am not always right. I've been known to be wrong. I've been known to be hilariously wrong at times. But I will tell you that this cycle so far is repeating exactly the same way that it did the last cycle. And I do believe that while we're not going to drop 78% the way that we did in the last bear market, I do believe that you're going to see a drop back down to sweep the previous all-time highs, which is the exact same thing that we saw in the last bear market. I do think that that market structure in particular is going to repeat. So if you're new here, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we've got a lot of content to cover. We're going to be doing a great deal of short-term technical analysis today. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. You'll have to forgive me if I sound a little bit hoarse. I do have a head cold, but the markets don't wait for Jeb being sick. So here we are. Let's do it. I like to go over CoinMarketCap to get started because I want to have a overall comprehensive view of the market before we dive in. I have a philosophy when I'm analyzing markets. I like to start broad and I like to narrow in because we want to make sure that we have all of the necessary context. That's why we talk about politics and geopolitics and economics and stock market and indexes and investing and passive income and all this stuff. We want to have a broad perspective so that we have the ability to have the breadth of knowledge that is necessary to focus in on one thing. All right. So Bitcoin is currently trading at $82,600. That is a correction of approximately $6,000 over the last 24 hours. This is something that can be very scary. And once again, I want to be very clear. I have no intention to gloat here. I don't want to do that at all. What I know, because I've been doing this for a long time, is a lot of you guys are very scared right now. You're very scared because maybe this is your first cycle. Maybe this is your second cycle. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you're overexposed. Maybe you have too much of your investment portfolio in Bitcoin. You're not diversified into stocks. Maybe you don't have any cash. Maybe you're over leveraged. Maybe you have taken out loans against your Bitcoin to reinvest in more Bitcoin, which is something that you really should not do unless we're at a bear market bottom. Maybe you've done something like that. The first thing I want to do is I want to discuss how this is making you feel. Jeb, that's so girly and frou-frou and silly. Like, what's the point of that? Like, what are we in kindergarten here? No, for real. It's one thing to say, don't let emotions dictate your trading. I actually don't give that advice. I don't give that advice. That is not something you will hear on this stream, is don't let your emotions dictate your trading. I say that you need to be in tune with your emotions. And if you are scared, that is something in your monkey brain telling you that something's wrong. And instead of suppressing that, which is what a lot of people will tell you to do, is just suppress the fear and suppress the greed, what you need to do is you need to self-reflect and analyze why that's the case. The two roots of wisdom in order are, number one, the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God. And number two, the knowledge of oneself. After you know the Lord and you fear the Lord and respect and obey the Lord, that is the root of wisdom. The next root of wisdom that is the more important than everything else, less important than that, is knowing yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to know why you tick the way you do. If you are scared about Bitcoin right now, that is an alarm bell going off in your mind that's trying to tell you something. Either it's telling you that you don't have the stomach to risk the amount that you're risking. Maybe it's telling you that you're in a bunch of debt. Maybe it's telling you that you think your boss is going to fire you pretty soon and you're going to have no income and you're going to have to sell your Bitcoin at a 40% loss. There's something going on there. If you're afraid right now and you're not at peace, like I am, I'm at total peace. I'm totally at peace. And not only am I at peace, I want Bitcoin to drop down to 60 to 70,000. Seriously, I'm not putting on an act. I don't put on an act. That's why you guys follow me. I'm authentic. I tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth is, man, I suck at this, or I'm good at that, or I'm really bad here, but I'm trying here. Whatever. I mean, my voice just cracked, right? I'm not sorry about it. I'm the real me. And I'm genuinely not scared right now. And the reason I'm genuinely not scared right now is because over the years, I've been terrified of what Bitcoin's done. I watched Bitcoin drop from 20 to 3,000. I watched Bitcoin drop from 69 to 15,000. And what I learned is I have to put myself in a position where I'm not going to have to sell Bitcoin at a loss. I have emergency funds. I have multiple six figures of cash sitting in dollars right now. Several $100,000 sitting in cash right now. Do you have any idea the kind of peace that gives me? Compared to our expenses, our family spends a little over $10,000 a month. I have more than 2 years of cash if I needed it. And I don't even need it. I have peace. I've earned that. It's taken years. But I've followed my own teaching of financial sovereignty, and I'm very happy with where it's brought me. And I'm in a position, because I earned it, to look forward to Bitcoin dropping. And if you're not, I encourage you, subscribe to the channel, and I'll teach you how to be there. Because that's how really successful investors operate, is that when the market crashes, it's not something that they freak out about. It's something that they're happy about because they know that they're invested in a good stock, or in this case, a good asset like Bitcoin. And when it drops, it's simply an opportunity for them to get a better entry. And because I have this peace, by the way, this peace where I'm not scared about Bitcoin dropping down to 60,000, I don't have fear coloring my vision, where I'm not able to make proper calls, where I'm not able to do proper technical analysis. You're not able to make proper calls, and you're not able to do proper technical analysis when your judgment is clouded by fear. So if you're afraid, I'm going to give you the exact opposite advice of what just about every single other investment channel and trading channel in the world will give you. Do not suppress the fear. Feel it. Go look in the mirror and look at how scared your eyes are. And ask yourself, why? What's making me scared? Am I worried that because the market's dropping, I'm not going to be able to put food on the table? Maybe I'm overinvested. Am I worried that I'm not going to be able to make the house payment? Maybe I bought too much house. Am I worried that I'm going to get the car repoed? Maybe you need to downgrade. Maybe you need to live within your means. Maybe I don't make any money. Maybe you need to quit playing video games 6 hours a day and you need to get a job. Well, I feel like I'm not amounting to anything. Maybe you need to get up off your butt and go do something with your life. Whatever it is, you need to look yourself in the mirror and be comfortable with what you see. And the only way you get there is you earn it. I'm telling you from experience. So with all that said, Bitcoin dropping here can be a very scary thing. The fear and greed sentiment obviously tells us that. We're in extreme fear territory. We're sitting here at 28 on the fear and greed, and it's actually been significantly lower recently. Not that long ago, it was down here at 10. And I want to tell you that we were at 10 on the fear and greed when we were at 80,000. Right now, we're only at 28 on the fear and greed when we're at 82,000. That tells me that there is a possibility that we drop farther here. And so we want to keep that in mind. So back to coin market cap. Ethereum's currently at $2,700. Binance is at $851. XRP is at $1.75. Tron is at 29 cents. Solana at 117. These are steals. Like, if you love any of these altcoins, these are fantastic opportunities to buy. And if you're afraid of these levels, then it means one of two things. It means, one, that you are not the investor that you need to be, or two, this is not the investment that you need to be in. Let me say that again. Number one, you are not the investor that you need to be. Or two, this is not the investment that you need to be investing in. That's all it means. If you're afraid right now, it means one of those two things. If you're ever afraid of the market, it means one of those two things. One, you need to change, or two, you need to change what you're investing in. That's all it ever means if you're afraid. If you're ever afraid, say, I'm investing in the wrong project because it's not a good project, it's going to go to zero. Or, I am not the investor I need to be because I have not positioned myself to be safe and I've overinvested. I have not managed my finances in a sovereign way because I want you to have the peace that I have. I want you to be able to be present the way that I am. I want you to have the quality of life and the joy that I have. And it's something that you have to earn. It's not something that I've always had. It's something I had to figure out, and I want to show you how to do it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin. Here is the deal. Over the last few weeks, we have discussed how Bitcoin was in this bear flag. And we've also discussed how important it is not to trade the market that we want, but to trade the market that we have. You see, want is such a dangerous thing in markets because what ends up happening is we start having a bias, and that bias is colored in the direction of our desires. If you desire for Bitcoin to go up because you're overinvested and you don't have the time horizon because you are in a bunch of debt or you don't have the income or whatever it may be, and you want Bitcoin to go back up, Bitcoin's almost always going to do exactly the opposite of what you want. Have you ever noticed that in life? Like, sometimes it just seems that whatever you want to happen, the exact opposite happens. What gives? I mean, we can write a whole comedy skit on that, right? Well, I want this, and so there you go. The opposite happens. What's happening there is you are so desperate for something to take place that you can't see the writing on the wall that the exact opposite is about to take place. It's the desperation. There's a reason that the girl rejects the desperate guy, because it's a sign of weakness. And when you are showing that sign of weakness, that sign of desperation, that I'm just gonna die if the market doesn't rally, what it means is your judgment is being clouded, and what you want is antipodal to what is actually taking place, and you just can't see it yet. I want Bitcoin to drop to the downside, but I'm totally fine if it goes up too. I don't care. I couldn't care less. If it drops, I get more Bitcoin. If it goes up, I get more freedom. I succeed in either direction because I've set myself up correctly. And so over the last couple of weeks, I've been telling you what you didn't want to hear, which is that Bitcoin's in a bear flag, and technically speaking, more likely than not, although I can't guarantee it, nothing is guaranteed in market analysis, but more likely than not, what's going to happen is that this bear flag is going to play out. We might not get to the price target because the price target points us to 55,000. I'm not necessarily convinced we're going to go that low, but I do firmly believe that Bitcoin is going to drop down to its 200 weekly moving average because that's what it's always done in history. And by the way, that's what just about every single other market in history always does, is it reverts back to its 200 moving average. The 200 moving average sits right here on this gray line. You can see all these reversions back down to the 200 that have taken place throughout the history of Bitcoin. And even a couple of times, Bitcoin has reverted back down to the 300 moving average. This is something that you see happen in traditional markets. It's something that you see happen significantly, a significant amount of times, very often in, for example, the QQQ, Invesco NASDAQ 100 Trust, right? The following tech stocks. You see it drop back down to the 200 time and time and time again. And sometimes in a serious bear market, such as in the 2008 financial crisis and after the dot-com bubble burst, you actually fall below this level in very serious time periods. And so Bitcoin dropping back down to the 200 is a nothing broke in the market. We just need a healthy correction. Bitcoin dropping back down to the 200 is a healthy correction. Dropping below the 200 is something broke. If, like, let's say Binance went bankrupt, which I don't think is going to happen. I think Binance is extremely strong, but let's say it did. Yeah, Bitcoin could drop down to 40K in that situation. But I'm here to tell you because, again, we talk to them all the time. Every single exchange, maybe not every single exchange, I shouldn't say that, but the vast majority of them, and every one of them that we work with, literally every exchange we work with, they are all prepared and anticipating and hoping for a drop back down to 60 to 65,000. And not only are they ready for that, they're ready for a lot worse, but they're hoping for this. And there's enough buy pressure on the sidelines that's going to accumulate Bitcoin at $50,000. There are, make no mistake, there are billions of dollars sitting on the sidelines, tens of billions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of billions of dollars sitting on the sidelines ready to acquire Bitcoin above 50,000. A lot of exchanges and a lot of big players are simply not going to allow Bitcoin to go below 50,000. They're just not going to tolerate it. And it makes sense, right? This bear market bottom from the last bear market was 400% higher. A drop down to 50,000 would only be 200% higher, right? It makes total sense that Bitcoin would drop down there, but it also makes sense that Bitcoin would not drop farther than that. So our prediction over the course of this year has been somewhere in this box. We're not going to nail it down exactly. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but somewhere in here. Somewhere in there is probably the bottom, because if you draw a fractal of what happened here, you're basically looking at the exact same thing taking place, right? Do it on the regular chart. If you were to draw a fractal, I do think that you're basically going to follow through on a very similar fractal, although we probably aren't going to go quite as deep because I don't think the market's going to break the way that it did. See that? That's about what we're looking at right now. That's about what we're having take place right now. So let's look at a couple of different charts. I saw something from a friend of mine, Caleb Franzen. If you guys have seen him on X, he's got a lot of great posts. He talked about the monthly chart. There are three, as you can see, three Heikin-Ashi candlesticks right here that are red. Heikin-Ashi is a different candlestick method that is extremely helpful. It's useful to be able to look at the market from a different lens. And generally speaking, when you see three Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, if you don't see the next one be green, then that means you're in a bear market. Three Heikin-Ashi, resumption of the bull market. Three Heikin-Ashi, resumption of the bull market. But you can see how much stronger these Heikin-Ashi candlesticks are here. Heikin-Ashi is something we haven't talked about in a few years. But what we can say is that it is actually very helpful, right? For example, over here, our correction, we saw 1, 2, 3 Heikin-Ashis. Exactly. Over here, after we saw that fourth Heikin-Ashi that was red here in March of 2022, that's where that bear market took place. 2 Heikin-Ashi, bull market resumes. Back over here, you can see we had a little miniature bear market before the events of 2020 and 2021 took off. We had 4 Heikin-Ashi and a couple more, right? This bear market after that fourth Heikin-Ashi in May, that's where you really knew that we were in a bear market, and so forth and so on if you go back into the history of Bitcoin. February is really kind of the last opportunity for us not to slide into a bear market. If Bitcoin does slide into a bear market, then once again, we're going to talk extensively about what to do in that situation. But I do want to encourage you to remember that that does not mean that Bitcoin is like dead or something. It just simply means that Bitcoin is consolidating, that we are having a rotation from the fearful weak holders to the strong holders. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. My job here has always been and always will be to help you achieve financial sovereignty. It's that simple. That's what we do every single day. I come on this channel, I come on all of our different platforms, and I aim to deliver you content that is going to help you become financially sovereign. That is what we do. That's what we've always done. That's what we will always do. It's never going to change. Sovereignty. I'm even thinking about renaming our company from McAfee Media to Sovereign Industries because I am very serious about the word sovereign. That is so important to me. My job is to deliver you sovereignty. What is happening right now is there is a changing of the guard from non-sovereign, weak hands to strong hands. Who's panicking right now? Retail, the over-leveraged, the undercapitalized, the unemployed who are surprisingly surprised with unemployment. Those are the people that are capitulating. The people that do not have conviction. To be sovereign, you must have conviction. It's really that simple. Either you believe in this stuff or you don't. Like, if you don't believe in Bitcoin, what are you doing here? Sell all your Bitcoin and go buy stocks. You can make a lot of money in the stock market. If you don't believe in Bitcoin, why the hell are you here? I love you enough to tell you that. I would love for you to watch our channel. I love you being here. But if you don't believe in Bitcoin, then what are you doing with your life? Quit wasting time on something you don't believe in. I'm going to try and convince you to believe in Bitcoin because Bitcoin's awesome. It's incredible. It's the greatest savings technology in the history of mankind. If you don't believe in Bitcoin, what are you doing here? What's going on right now is the market is shifting away from weak hands who do not believe in Bitcoin, who are capitulating for one reason or another. Either they don't believe in it, or they have too much Bitcoin, or they're over-leveraged, undercapitalized, whatever it may be, and is shifting in the direction of hands that are strong. And what that does is that builds the bedrock, as Queen likes to continue reminding us. Back over here during this time, I would ask, where's my bedrock? Is my bedrock present? Give me a 1 in chat if you're part of the bedrock. When you're building a skyscraper, You pile drive pylons down through the topsoil, through the sand and silt, down to the solid rock, and you build the skyscraper on top of it. You drill down to the bedrock. Jesus said that the man who builds on the firm foundation, when the winds and waves come, he will not be deposed, right? He'll not be knocked over. So the question that I have for you is this: are you part of the bedrock, which is going to stay no matter whether the wind and waves come and crash against that coastline? Or are you part of the sediment, part of the sand that's going to erode and drift off into the ocean and be wiped away? Who are you? By the way, this is a very important line, and it is possible that this could be the bottom. Like it is genuinely possible. I'm not convinced, but it's genuinely possible this could be the bottom of the bear market. It really is. You've got this uptrend right here, this line. It could very easily be the bottom of the bear market. Now, the reason I say it's probably not is because we had a similar line in the last bear market, and when you fell below it, ooh, stuff started happening real fast, right? So we had the same line back over here that we have now, connecting the top and a bottom. We connect the top and a bottom. If it holds, great. And there's a real possibility that this could hold. Really could. It could totally happen. That's why you should not wait to be acquiring Bitcoin. Binance isn't waiting to acquire Bitcoin. Do you think Binance knows more than you? I think Binance knows more than me. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think Binance knows more than me. So if they're acquiring, I'm going to go with them. CZ's worth $100 billion for a reason. Binance has a $100 billion cryptocurrency for a reason. Here's a good place to buy. Right now, if you want to hold for the next 10 years, $83,300, this current level is a great place to buy. In fact, I just invested $1,000 into Bitcoin over my Trust Capital, right? And I have, like I said, hundreds of thousands of dollars that I can deploy at any point in time if I want to. I'm not doing it yet because I think we might go a little bit lower, and I'm comfortable with what I have right now at this level. But my point is this could possibly be a bottom. If it's not, then that means where we are is right here. And what happened after we fell through that level is that we dropped 50% within 42 days. Here's what I mean by that. If this level does not hold, this uptrending level of support right here does not hold, then the bottom of the bear market genuinely might be found within just the next few months. It might be within the next few months. You don't have a lot of time here. If this level of support around 80,000 breaks, then our next major level is like, 75. We could drop down there. There's a real possibility that if Bitcoin breaks through this support uptrend, you just boom, 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 come down here, find a bottom at 55, 60,000 relatively soon. Guess where that would put us? That put us right down there on top of the 200 weekly moving average. You're going to see a hell of a lot of buying pressure there. I am here to tell you that I will be buying whole coins if Bitcoin drops down to 60,000. I fully intend on doing that, and it could happen. So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to that fractal, because it's genuinely a very, very real possibility of taking place. Let me just show you that one more time so you know what I'm talking about. Just draw out this fractal. Real simple. Not complicated. Just literally draw the chart and then move it on the regular. See that? If we were to draw the fractal, if Bitcoin does the same thing it did last time, you see a drop below this uptrend, and you probably bottom out between 60 and 70,000. At which point in time, that is the time where you're like, man, I'm going to go into debt and buy Bitcoin. That's when you do that. Not yet. Too early for that. But if you're going to do that, that's when you do it. I'm not saying you should do that, to be clear. I'm discouraging you from doing it now. That's the point. But if you're going to do it, you should wait. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. Risky strategy. Buy now, buy more later. I mean, what's risky about that? If you believe in Bitcoin, that's not risky. Let's see. Life-changing seed planted. Hey guys, will Cardano go to $1 this year, or are we going straight down? I think that within the next 12 to 24 months, Cardano will go over $1. I don't think it's going to happen yet. I think the fullness of the bear market is going to have to play out, and then you're going to have to see Bitcoin hitting new all-time highs, and then at that point in time, I think Cardano will go through a major all-time high run. Use stilts that are embedded deep in the sand if you're going to build on the sand. That's how they build houses on the beach. They embed the stilts deep in the sand. Exactly. And if you get deep enough under the sand starts acting like the bedrock. I mean, it's compressed by the weight of the earth to such a degree that it doesn't move, and it's compressed so deep that the ocean is not actually getting down to where that sand is. Let's see. Jeb is the best market. I'm a market? Can I be traded? Am I on CBO8? Thank you. I probably market analyst is what he needed. What he meant to say. Thank you. Let's see. Investors, not gullible believers. Yeah, don't be gullible. Don't be gullible. Don't forget to hit that like button, y'all. Look at the all-time high charts for the Dixie. Yep. Every Bitcoin, every cycle goes lower than the 200 weekly moving average. Then each previous cycle, we could see the Bitcoin bottom around 30 to 40K until the next cycle starts all over again. Strictly speaking, if you're just looking at the technicals, you're right. If you're just looking at the technicals, you would expect Bitcoin to drop back down just slightly below the 300 moving average down to, at this point, around 50K. That's where you would expect that to take place. Because the idea was we dropped briefly below the 300 moving average here. If you drop briefly below the 300 moving average, then you would actually line up perfectly on this uptrend as support, which, by the way, if we drop low enough, that will come in handy, sitting here around 50K. That'll be a convergent support level at $50,000. You see? But you could drop below the 300 moving average quite a bit, like several $1,000s below the 300 moving average. Let's be really, really specific here. Let's say we did the exact same thing in relation to the 300 moving average that we did in the last market, and then we'll talk about whether or not that's actually realistic, whether that passes the sniff test. We dropped 15% below the 300 moving average. That was the bottom. If, let's say, this takes place in, let's say, May, 15% drop below the 300 moving average, worst case scenario is $45,000. Now, the question becomes, is that actually going to happen? I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you why. We saw Luna collapse over here. We saw 3 Arrows Capital collapse. We saw Celsius collapse, and then at this point in time, we saw FTX collapse, which was one of the largest exchanges in the industry. We work with and we know people at most of the large exchanges in the industry, and I can tell you, at least from what I can see, and I could be wrong, but at least from what I can see, I do think that the exchanges learned from the mistakes of FTX, and I do think that they are actually relatively well capitalized. I think they're safe down to a drop down to and even below $50,000. I think they're going to be fine. So is it realistic that Bitcoin would drop down below the 300? Because by the way, if FTX had not collapsed, Bitcoin would have held the 300. It would have never even dropped below the 300. So without all of those factors, and by the way, also without the fact that we were having major quantitative tightening take place, we saw $1 trillion in quantitative tightening take place during the bear market. Starting here, through the end of the bear market, through the bottom of the bear market, we saw approximately $1 billion worth of QT take place. That's not happening now. We're seeing the early stages of QE. Now, it's probably not going to be enough to prevent the bear market, but it's certainly not the downward driver of price action that we saw during the last bear market. And so what we would be expecting at this point in time is a bear market similar in structure to the last bear market, but smaller and shallower than the last bear market. Not just because of all of those factors, but also because the last bull market was 2,600% tall. This bull market was 700% tall. It doesn't make sense. It does not stand to reason that Bitcoin would need the same size bear market in better market conditions with a smaller bull market. It doesn't make sense. What makes sense is Bitcoin having a 35% bear market, which we've seen so far, possibly a 50% bear market down to 60, maybe even a 60% bear market down to 50. But going below 50,000, I think, is something that would never take place again. If your plan is to buy Bitcoin at 30,000, I'm sorry to tell you, but there is at least a 98% chance, in my opinion, that you will never get those entries filled. Again, unless something black swan that is unforeseeable takes place. I don't see that happening. Jeb, we getting any relief rally soon? Trying to buy more inverse MSTR for another 40% gain. Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's funny. Are we getting a relief rally? Well, you know, the interesting thing is the support that Bitcoin is finding right now is very important because this level that we dropped to yesterday is not just some random level. It's not some random level. It is a level that is based on the long-term uptrending level of support, which is right here. The fact that we're here is important. And so whether we're going to see a relief rally, honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is this is a great time to be acquiring long-term. This is a great time to be investing in Bitcoin at $83,000. What I want to look out for, because we need a couple of days to pass, what I'm looking out for is, are we just going to sit down here and hug this uptrending level of support, which is what we're doing so far? Because if we're going to, then we're probably going to end up dropping lower. We're probably going to end up dropping lower. And if we do, it's going to scare the crap out of you, which is why you should subscribe to the channel. If you look back on our channel, back in 2018, when Bitcoin was going into a bear market, one of my most popular videos was watch this video before you leave crypto. Before you leave Bitcoin, watch this video. Just see if I can find this. We have over 3,000 videos on the channel, so it's kind of hard to find videos sometimes. Look, this is a type of content that I've made plenty of times. Look at my ugly mug right here. Watch this video before leaving Bitcoin. Before you leave Bitcoin, watch this video. If you're thinking about leaving Bitcoin, watch this video first. If you're considering leaving Bitcoin, watch the video first. Hey, look, it's a video of me snowboarding. I didn't realize that was on the channel. That's me. If you're considering leaving Bitcoin, watch this video first. Look at this. You see the chart here? Do you recognize that? Do you know when that is? 7 years ago. Look at this. Look at this. If you're considering leaving Bitcoin, watch this video. This video was at the bottom. Look at this. This is 7 years ago.
Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, we're going to be discussing Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency markets, and the 2018 bear market on an emotional level rather than on a technical level. If you guys watch the channel every day, you'll know that we do Bitcoin technical analysis every single day. So if you're new here, hit the subscribe button for that. But we're going to be discussing Bitcoin on an emotional level today because you can learn all the technical analysis you want. But if you get sad and depressed and leave the market, then that's kind of all for naught, isn't it? So I want to talk to the people today who have lost a lot of money in the 2018 bear market. Perhaps you're one of these people that bought up here. Let me close that driver. Perhaps you're one of the people that bought up here above $20,000. Perhaps you're one of the people that bought right up here because you thought this was the bounce and we're going to see a bear market and we're going to go back up to all-time high. Perhaps you bought here $10,000. Hell, perhaps you bought 3 weeks ago hoping that something was going to change. But nevertheless, whatever you did, perhaps you've lost a lot of money because a lot of people have lost a lot of money. I've seen people tell me in the comment section that they've lost their life savings. I've seen people in the comment section tell me that they've lost a lot more than they were able to lose, and they weren't financially stable. I've seen a lot of pain come out of this bear market, so I want to discuss and address you guys in today's video. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that I want to do is make it very crystal clear for all of us, especially the people who come out of this market smelling like a rose. Perhaps because you've been shorting, perhaps because you've been doing some really good swing trades. Whatever it is, if you come out of this market making money, good on you. There is a lot of money to be made in this market, even in a bear market, if you know what you're doing, especially if you can short. But I do want to make it very clear to everyone who hasn't suffered in this market just how bad it's been for some of us. And now I've done all right in this market, but I do want to make it clear for everyone what kind of people, what kind of context we're dealing with here. If you bought in at $20,000 and you held,
etc. I'm not just going to keep showing that video, but you can go and find it. That video was 7 years ago. That video went out on November 27th, 2018, which was basically the exact bottom. I've been telling you guys for almost a decade, if you're scared of leaving Bitcoin, that's like one of my things. If you're scared about Bitcoin, here's why not to be. Here's why you should not be scared of Bitcoin. Because 7 years ago, when Bitcoin was trading at $3,675, and I had no idea how to frame my freaking screen so that it actually looked good, and as Pew Pew Poom said, puberty hit me late. I'll tell you what, it sure did. No, I'm just kidding with my voice. My voice got a lot deeper because I've done a lot of basically radio content like this, you know? Which I love my voice now. I sounded like a squeaker back then. It was bad. It was real bad. I'd watch my videos back and I'm like, man, I sound like an idiot. But again, you got to start somewhere. If I was telling you that you should not be scared of Bitcoin dying when it was at $3,600, perhaps, just maybe, we shouldn't be scared of Bitcoin dying when it's at $83,000. You know where that video was shot? Right there. I told you. I just showed you. Go look it up on the channel. Have X, have Grok, have someone show you these content. We're 30% down in this bear market, and we're up 20x from when I made that video. My conviction on Bitcoin is unwavered. And it never will waver because Bitcoin, I have told you from the very beginning of this channel 8 years ago, since the dawn of time, more or less, in the cryptocurrency market, that Bitcoin is the greatest advancement in savings technology that mankind has ever conceived. And so what we are looking at now is a bear market with a bottom, probably in this zone. And then you will probably rally in the next bull market up to this uptrending level of resistance or higher. Genuinely, we might actually go higher. Up towards probably 160 to 200,000, maybe even 250,000. But we're going to have a bear market right now. And you've got to accept that. You've got to accept that because that's the writing on the wall. And if you don't, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to be ready for what comes next. Bitcoin's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Hey guys, by the way, it's very important that if you're online like I am, that you make sure to keep yourself safe, which is why today's episode is brought to you in part by NordVPN. If you guys have not already signed up for NordVPN, you absolutely should. And the reason that you should sign up for NordVPN is because by using the link in the description or by going to nordvpn.com/Jeb, we're going to help you stay safe and secure while you browse online. All you have to do is sign up for NordVPN, and NordVPN is going to help keep you safe. So if you come over here to get the deal, you're going to see there's a few different options here. Which one should you pick? I personally recommend, if you just are trying to get started, I personally recommend the Plus plan. This is the best value. For $93, you're going to get NordVPN for 24 months plus 4 months extra for free. You're going to save 77%. Huge deal. Huge discount. You're going to get the secure fast VPN, the anti-malware and browsing protection package, and also the ad and tracker blocker. On top of that, you're also going to get the password manager, which is very helpful. If you decide to upgrade to the complete or the prime plan, you're going to get a lot more features as well. For example, a terabyte of cloud storage, which is very helpful, highly encrypted, highly secure cloud storage. You can also get the scam call protection. I told you yesterday, I get like 4 to 6 scam calls every day. I had to cancel one during this stream. My phone started ringing. I had to cancel it. I'm like, I don't know who you are. I'm not answering the phone. The scam call protection is going to help you significantly on your phone. It's very helpful. You also get Nord Protect over here for the Prime plan. We've told you about Nord Protect. This is the advanced identity protection against cybercrimes. If you have some kind of cybercrime happen to you, they will reimburse you up to $1 million for some kinds of cybercrime if you have your identity stolen. This is identity protection right here for $5.91 a month. You're not going to find this anywhere else, and you're also not going to find it on this deal anywhere else because this is a CryptoJeb exclusive deal. So go to nordvpn.com/Jeb and get the deal. All right. Let's read some chat. So many YouTubers were saying we going to 200 to 250K in the last bull market. What makes you think we go there or higher next time? Well, so there was a possibility in October that the super cycle could have started and the 4-year halving cycle could have broken. That ended the day that 1010 happened. $19 billion in longs getting liquidated basically guaranteed that we were going into a bear market. It was a absolutely awful event. I remember where I was. It was a Friday. It was after Trump had tweeted about tariffs on China, and my wife and I just picked up our kids from school, and we were just getting home to hand them off to our babysitter because we go on a date every Friday night. And we're about to start our date, and I'm like, oh, and everybody's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I gotta go. I'll be right back. I gotta go look at this. And I'm like, crap, what's going on? Scared the hell out of me, you know? And here's what I didn't do. I didn't just say, well, don't be afraid, Jeb, just man up. No, I said, why am I afraid? And I made some changes. And I prepared myself because I realized on that day, when 1010 happened, we're going into a bear market. Had the weekend to think about it. The weekend was 11 and 12. 10-11 was Saturday. 10-12 was Sunday. 10-13 the next Monday, I made the call that we're dropping to $94,000 to $100,000. I had the weekend to think about it. I said 10-10 just guaranteed that we were going back down to 100,000. Before 10-10 happened, I said there was a very real possibility that Bitcoin would never trade below $100,000 ever again. And if we did trade below $100,000, it probably wouldn't happen for very long. After 10-10 happened, that went out the window, and you didn't hear me saying that anymore because the 10-10 crash fundamentally broke the market, and it fundamentally scarred a large number of the traders in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space. And so that massive crash changed everything. And since then, I've been saying we're going down to 94 to 100K, and if that breaks, we're going into a bear market. People keep saying, Jeb, you're flip-flopping. I'm really not. That's the exact same thing I've been saying the whole time. It just is what it is. Short term, hey, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen there? I'm trying not to do a whole lot of that because it is very easy to be wrong on that. But as far as medium and long-term predictions, that's what we've said. We said that there's a real possibility, a real high likelihood even, that Bitcoin's going into super cycle. After 10-10 happened, that went out the window because 10-10 fundamentally broke the market and basically guaranteed that October 6th was the all-time high. And at that point in time, that was going to be the beginning of a bear market. That was a Black Tuesday kind of event. I mean, it was extraordinarily unlikely that Bitcoin was just going to spring back from that. So again, 10-10 was a Friday, 10-11 was a Saturday, 10-12 was a Sunday, 10-13 was the following Monday, and you can go back and watch the video. On 10-13, I made the prediction that we are going to see Bitcoin drop back down to $94,000 to $100,000, and we began talking about that exact likelihood happening. And that's where we've been ever since then. So, yeah. All right. So, let's see. Let's see if I can find this. Yep. All right, cool. All right, quick question. The news in Europe keeps saying every American is done with President Trump. Is it propaganda or... No, every American is not done with President Donald Trump. Obviously, I think all of us would like to have a little bit more information on certain things like the Epstein files and whatnot and what's going on there. I would like to see some more follow-through. There are a lot of things that are promised that have not come that I would like to see. That said, I voted for Donald Trump. I've made that very clear. I don't think that he's perfect. I think that he's made a lot of mistakes. I don't think that he's the perfect human being. I do not look to Donald Trump as a spiritual leader. I do not try to emulate my spiritual life or my character after the man, Donald Trump. Although I do think that he was a stronger candidate, which is why I voted for him, and I'm going to tell you that, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm so far still happy with my decision. I much prefer him being in office than Kamala Harris. Totally respect your belief. You're perfectly welcome to vote for Kamala if you want. But so far, I don't regret that. I think that there are some areas where it's like, if this doesn't change, I may end up regretting it. Like I said, I want a lot more clarity on the whole Epstein file thing. It's been kind of confusing what's going on there. Not really happy about the way that all that's played out. But at the end of the day, for me, I want someone who is going to put America first. And I think that he was the candidate to do that. Now, as far as is everybody done with him, that is massively overblown. In my circle, in my experience, there are three major types of opinion. Either one, Donald Trump is the devil incarnate, which he's not, but he's also certainly not perfect, and there's a lot of areas that he needs to be better. And I think that's a reasonable take. There is, he's okay, but he's really brash, and he's arrogant, and he's prideful. I hear that a lot from people that I have a lot of respect for, and I would, to a great degree, somewhat agree with that. And then the other take is that he's just awesome, and he's America first and all this. And in my opinion, I think that, and what I think the silent majority is feeling is that the side of Donald Trump is the devil incarnate, and he's Hitler, and he's going to overthrow the government, is probably not accurate. Maybe it is, who knows? We'll see. On the other hand, being just this Trump fanboy and idolizing him and turning him into your Lord and Savior is ridiculous also. I own zero Donald Trump merch. I don't have a Make America Great Again hat. We go to Gatlinburg quite a bit. There's like a Donald Trump store up there. Never been in it. Like, I'm not I'm not this ride or die based on Donald Trump kind of thing. The only thing I can confidently say is that I think that he was the better candidate than Kamala. But that's okay. You're willing to think about anything. You're willing to think whatever you want about that. So that's my take. That's my take. I tell you guys, I'm always going to be very open and honest and real with you to the best of my ability. So I will say this. I think more of America loves Trump than what the media lets on, because the media doesn't want you to know that. I do think there's a lot of misinformation in the media there. But I do think there's also a lot of people who are like, I do think there's also a cohort of people that are like, Trump was better than Kamala, but I really wish he was more professional. I think that's a very common take as well. That is more accurate than just everybody hates Trump, because that's not a hatred of Trump. That's just a wishing he was professional kind of thing. All right. 1 second. All right, guys. Now, before we continue any further, I do also want to let you know that today's stream is brought to you in part by Femex. If you have not already signed up for Femex, you absolutely should. And the reason that you should is because all you got to do is deposit $10,000 or even $2,000 or even less and do some trading, and you're going to get some free money over here. I say all you have to do is deposit $10,000. Like, that's not a lot of money. That is a lot of money. But $2,000 might be a lot more in your price range. It might be a lot more easy to do, right? If you deposit $2,000 and do $200,000 of future trading volume, you're going to get a $300 bonus. But you got to sign up soon, because this is not going to last. And you can also get a $100 position voucher and a $10 trading bonus when you sign up. All you have to do is sign up right now. And when you sign up and deposit and trade at least $250, you're also going to get our very own 358 Mastery course absolutely free of charge. So make sure you sign up for that reason as well. Absolutely. All right. Let's read a little bit of chat, and then we are going to go ahead and wrap it out. Let's talk a little bit about alts. You guys are desperate for some alts, and that's all right. Ethereum. Ethereum, obviously, at this point is going home. Back down towards the 200 moving average, around $2,400. I think that Ethereum is going to drop down to that level. It has a very common track record of visiting and briefly falling below the 200 moving average, even down to the 300, here, and here. So the 200 and even 300 moving average being touched by ETH is highly likely. If you're looking to add a position to Ethereum, $2,200 to $2,300 is a likely place that that's going to go. ADA. I'm not going to talk about ADA too much today, because we actually have a whole video coming out on Cardano relatively soon that I don't want you to miss. It's based on this chart right here. And in fact, I'll even show you the thumbnail because the video is done. So stay on the lookout for this. Not that one. Not that one. This one. This is the thumbnail for a video that's about to come out. So very excited about this video. Definitely stay tuned for it. But it's based on this chart over here. I think that Cardano is going to have a very good 2027 and 2028. But I'm going to leave the rest of that for that video. Let's look at Solana. What's the deal with Solana? Solana is currently moving back down towards its 200 moving average. It's broken below its 50. You can see the major capitulation here. If you believe in Solana, ultimately, this is a fantastic place to be acquiring Solana down here at these levels. Now, I personally have some issues with Solana. I do think that Solana will go to $600, $700, $800, $1,000 at some point. We just don't know when the alt season is going to happen. It could happen years from now. We really just don't have the retail interest that we have had in the past. I do think it'll come eventually, but it's obviously taking its sweet time. So if you believe in Solana, you're getting into great buying opportunities because you are down 61% from all-time high. But again, on every single altcoin, what I personally like to do is, especially when it's this far above its previous bottom, it could drop 85% and still not be to its all-time low down here at like $20. What I like to do is I like to, once it starts showing signs of strength, invest over here. If it was at the exact bottom, then yes, okay, then I might buy some because the risk profile is so small. But if you're already if you still have that far to fall down to its absolute bottom, then you might want to wait. So for Solana, not a bad idea to load some up here, but I would wait personally. As you guys know, I am almost exclusively in Bitcoin. I hold some Ethereum, but that's it. I don't hold any altcoins except for just a little tiny bit of Cardano right now. And that's going to be my positioning for a while until I start to see the alts showing some signs of life. So there's a lot of value in the altcoins, but you're going to have to give it some time. All right, guys, do remember today's stream was brought to you in part by NordVPN. If you guys have not already signed up, go to nordvpn.com/Jeb. And then also, while you're doing all of that, make sure to go and sign up for Femex. And when you sign up for Femex, you're going to be getting access to up to $1,200 in bonuses that you get to hold on to. So make sure that you sign up for Femex and get that $1,200 bonus right now. When you sign up for Femex, you're also going to be getting access to the 358 Mastery course. All you have to do is sign up and deposit and trade at least $250. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.